Hey, it's me, Silver the Work. How's it going? How's it going? Coffee is still hot, but I am using the Snoopy mug today. I hope that your Wednesday was good. If I sound a bit sleepy and my voice is not quite there, that's because I really did not sleep last night. I was feeling sick, like nauseated and upset stomach and stuff. So pain for the whole night. I don't know if it was something that I ate that upset my GI tract. But it was not good, and I took some ibuprofen. So now I'm just kinda more sleep deprived than usual. Though I've been kinda steadily sleeping around 5 hours per night, which is good for me personally, since before I couldn't get more than 3 hours. So today I'm just vlogging for the sake of vlogging, for the sake of registering this day as well, and for the talking therapy. I wanted to address the fact that one of my favorite creators on this platform went and watched the way I played the game that they influenced me into playing because looking at it, that's what happened. So even though I didn't actually buy the game, it was that seeing them play the game that influenced me to talk about the game, and then led my friend to get me the credits to get the game. So that was nice, and they also gave me some tips about not being too upset about the quality of videos and gameplays and stuff, which was millennial heart. the Gen Z one is kind of harder in my opinion. Like, you have to go and know exactly how to position your fingers, whereas in here you just kind of do this. I don't know, maybe I'm just biased. And in the thumbnail I did this, which is the Korean heart, which you can do the two of. Now I just take pictures before I start recording and add that as the thumbnail, just to avoid the three. I do this, but usually I do this when I want to say three. sometimes the three auto-generated pictures are just, and I pull some strange faces sometimes, and I guess YouTube must have some sort of system to pick up on those strange faces. I don't know. Maybe I'm just theorizing, because sometimes I'm like, oh god, Jesus, how did you get this? So I started taking just a random selfie at the beginning of the recording. It's just before I start recording, and yeah, it's still kind of part of the recording since it's the same setting, and nah, it's not exactly an edit. The only time I did an edit for a thumbnail was again when I made a joke about when I injured my finger, this scar right here that you can see it. Oh, it's visible in the viewfinder. Yeah, this one, this thing. When I injured my finger when I was washing up the dishes. I'm sorry, I go so many times and don't edit my videos to remove that. We know what happens when I try to edit videos. I think I left it up, the video that I tried to edit, and then the audio was overlapping one another, and it was just a mess because I cut a bunch of things. I don't even know why I edited that. I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember at all. Should I be drinking coffee this time? Probably not. But this is, in my defense, this is just the instant kind, the little kind. The Americans probably don't know what little is, though I think the little has expanded to the US. Some parts of it, at least in the East Coast. I'm not sure exactly how well the little would do in the US, to be quite honest, but that's something I've definitely heard. I'm not sure, but yeah, basically Lidl is a cheap German supermarket chain. The products are quite good in general. They're not name brands for the most part. Like you'll find the name brands as well, but they have their own brands, which are usually dupes of the original things, and sometimes those dupes are better than the original, which is the case to me personally. And I'm not alone in this. Their knockoff of Oreo is better than the actual Oreo. Again, personal opinion. I still like the original, but I think that the little formula is milder, and you can definitely feel the differences in the the texture of the biscuit itself. But I like that difference. So yeah, they have a bunch of things that are just dupes of other things, of name brands and stuff. And yeah, for a lot of Europeans, it's just cheaper to go to Lidl, and you get the same quality. Though I will say that they don't really have a lot of meats and fish, and the stuff that they do is quite expensive. But I mean, I think it's expensive everywhere. It's expensive to just to exist. Which brings me to another point. Like yesterday, my mom was having a bad day and just took it out on us, and yeah, basically trying to discredit that I have congenital issues that cause generalized anxiety, and like she's seen the diagnosis papers, she's seen those, she knows, but sometimes, yeah, it just doesn't process, I guess. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to pause, I'm so sorry. Yeah, if you hear any noise in the distance, no you don't. I'm just looking at the viewfinder and looking at the hair, and it looks yeah, it looks like a mess, but that's a vibe. Um, and it doesn't look as bad as it actually is. I mean, it's this hair is very thin. The only thing that makes it not look like absolute Gollum is the fact that it has volume and is very curly. And I never really like straightened it. No part of me is straight. I had to make the joke. I'm sorry. That's so unoriginal. One good thing about curly hair, since I touched that, is that you don't really have to comb it much. Like, you wash it and comb it when it's wet, which is the ideal, since combing curly hair with when it's dry is a surefire way to break it. And my hair, since it's so fine and thin and yeah, not good doing that, is not advised. When I comb my hair when it's dry, I usually do it by like putting my head down. I'm not gonna demonstrate since I'm sitting in bed and I don't want to stand up or whatever. But basically, pardon, what I do is I put my head down, and the hair, and I comb it from like that, from the nape to the front, because it for some reason it breaks less when I do that. I should get a better comb, but yeah, we are saving. We are saving. Yeah, but yeah, my mom just took it out on us, and yeah, it was basically discrediting my anxiety and my struggle with finding a job, and my brother's struggle with finding a job. Like, we don't literally send out CVs every single day. I should probably update my brother's, since he doesn't have any diagnosis for anything, so I can't uh, really say I have this, that, and the other, but he's very, yeah, this is genetic. He has inattentive type ADHD as well. He's very distracted, and yeah, there's just a lot of signs. But I'm obviously not going to diagnose him with anything because I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. So yeah, that's a thing. Anyway, I needed my coffee. Jesus, I really needed my coffee. Even if, yeah, the brain is all over the place, really. I was saying that I was drinking little coffee, and little coffee is basically just 40% coffee, and the rest is just cereals. I'm not. Coffee is not a cereal. Coffee is a fruit. Right? Reckon it is. We'll pause. So partially. The beans of the coffee are part of a fruit. So yeah, they are seeds. The coffee bean. I'm not going to read the AI stuff. Shut up. The answer is yes. Coffee cherries are classified as fruits because they contain seeds that are processed into roasted beans. These coffee trees generate the cherry-like fruits from which we obtain our beloved beverages, beans. In essence, this means that your regular cup of Java counts as a fruity treat. Cool. Yeah, but it's the seed of the fruit, so not exactly the fruit, but yeah. And coffee prices have risen this year because there was some shortage in Brazil. I think it was mostly Brazil, since Brazil is one of the world's biggest coffee producers, due to climate changes and weather problems, like floods and things. From what I've read, I'm not sure if that's true, but that's what I read anyway on the news. So yes, coffee prices have risen. I'm not sure if I'm conjugating that correctly, but I think I am. Which is funny, considering that English is extremely easy when it comes to verbs. Like conjugations. I will use the example of Spanish. For example, you have the verb to be. And you say, I am, you are. He, she, it, is. He, she, they, is. He, she, it, they. Because they can be singular as well. She, he, they, you are, you plural. They are. That's an irregular verb in English. Usually in English, the only different conjugation is the third person, and the tenses. But usually it's the same for like all the persons except for the third person singular. But for example, I'm gonna use the Spanish example. Yo soy, tú eres, él, ella, es, nosotros, vosotros sois, eh, nosotros somos, eh, ellos, ellas son. Did you notice the difference in every single one of those? That's also an irregular verb, of course. I think the verb to be is different, is the most irregular verb of all. And in Spanish, again using that example, the verb to be can be like be as in a state of existing, and be as in a transitory state, which for non-speakers, like the people who only speak English and start learning a language, a Romance language, for example, I'm not entirely sure about the other languages, but Japanese also makes the distinction. There's a different verb for the state of being permanently, like I am pale. That's something that will never change unless I get a tan, but I will still be pale because my tan doesn't get very tanny. That's not a word, but now it is. But something that will pass, like I am here. I will not be here permanently unless I... And for example, in Spanish, there's a different verb for that, which is estar. Yo estoy, tú estás, él, ella está, nosotros estamos, vosotros estáis, ellos, ellas están. And that's be in the sense of being somewhere in the transitory state. Did that make sense? Like, it's not be splits into those two, like in Portuguese, for example. Eu estou, tu estás, ele, ela está, nós estamos, vós estáis, eles estão. That's the transitional state. If I want to say be as in the state of permanence, the verb is ser, not estar. The pronunciation is different in Brazilian Portuguese, and I can show it with my pronunciation. So in Portuguese, in European Portuguese, you would say ser. In Brazilian Portuguese, you would say se. Did you notice the difference? Estar in European Portuguese. Brazilian Portuguese, está. Did you notice the difference? Probably not. I don't know. I just love languages. That's my major, and I'm just rambling. But I think this is interesting. I mean, I strongly recommend anyone trying to pick up a hobby. If you're not sure about what to pick up, learning a new language is a good thing. I know that a lot of people have dropped Duolingo because of the AI stuff, but you can still learn the language in other ways. There are free books and tutorials on YouTube, people actually just taking the time to teach the language. But I could do that, but I don't think I have the right setting to do that. In this case, it's not a case of I don't think I would be able to. I would be able to because I've done it before. It's just that I don't have the right setting to do that. But yeah, learning a new language is a good hobby to have. Yeah, I forgot about. Oh. I forgot about the Italian version. But in essence, it's the same thing. It's also there's a difference between essere and stare. You would say io sono, tu sei, lui, lei, è, noi siamo, voi siete, loro sono. And for stare, io sto, tu stai, lui, lei, sta, noi, stiamo, voi state, loro state. Loro stanno, non loro state. Cosa loro state, cosa. Non so parlare italiano. È una bugia. Anyway. But the difference between European Portuguese and Brazilian Portuguese is quite jarring. It's not as jarring in European Spanish and Latin American Spanish. Not in my opinion, anyway, because I understand both. I just think that Latin American Spanish sounds nicer. I think the same about Brazilian Portuguese, which, well, sorry, ancestors. All of them. But it's just how I feel, because I think that the Latin American versions sound more musical, and yeah, even for learners, it's easier to pick up those variants of the language, because those are variants, not different languages. Though, if you go on Google Translate, for example, you will see the variants, since there are some differences in some vocabulary, for example, and the grammar is slightly different, but not enough for a translator, for example, me, to struggle with understanding or translating into it, especially because I have a lot of contact with the language since I have a lot of Brazilian friends that I've made when I was a teen on MSN and stuff. I also have some Latin American friends from Spanish speaking countries. Like, yeah, the Iberian Peninsula deserves the wrath of God. The same God that was used as a weapon to basically mess up the entire world. And I'm not saying this to be offensive, I'm saying this as fact, because it is fact. And there is extensive literature on anti-colonial and decolonial studies proving that the Catholic Church especially has done a lot of damage to the world with the God as their shield. And if the world is the way it is today, that's at fault. And I mean, if anything, the Roman Empire is responsible for all of it. Since, yeah, they were the ones who colonized the Iberian Peninsula and destroyed everything that was here. And then the oppressed became the oppressor, which is not uncommon in any way. I'm not going to specify anything else. I don't want to get into any arguments about that. I don't want any drama. I'm just talking about something I know, because it's my reality and it's my history. But yeah, the Roman Empire invaded the Iberian Peninsula, and the West Coast was the hardest part to colonize. And it's kind of frustrating to when people think that the Iberian Peninsula is just Spain, when there was such a struggle to have independence from Spain. And Spain is a monarchy. Portugal is not. And has not been since 1910. Some territories in Spain do not like to be part of Spain, such as Catalonia, Galicia. I'm not sure how to say that in English. The Basque Country. They call themselves Basque Country for a reason, because they speak a completely different language. Their language is very, very interesting because it's an isolated case and is part of that group of languages that I've mentioned in one of my previous vlogs that don't belong in any family of trees. Family of trees. Family of trees. What a phrase. Family of languages. I was thinking about the trees that people draw to like put the languages in. They're very nice. I wish I could edit so that I could put one right here. But yeah, it's an isolated language. Nobody exactly knows where it came from. It's completely different from Spanish. And from my research, it has some similarities with, for example, the Ainu languages of the northernmost islands of the Japanese archipelago. too many for it to be a coincidence. And some of those date back, like, if you pull it further back, you can find similarities with things from African languages, which is extremely interesting to me. Probably not to other people, like, who don't like languages as much as I do, but yeah, it's very interesting to me. All this to say that learning a new language is a good hobby. Since, not only are you activating a space in your brain, which bilingual people naturally have more developed than monolingual people, and I'm bilingual, so I can say that from experience. I have a lot of more ease learning new languages than most people. That's not a flex, that's just something that's well researched. Yeah. I may make mistakes, which is normal when you speak a lot of languages and have some. Even if you don't, you may make mistakes. And even when you're just a monolingual, you make mistakes as well, so. But I was speaking of the differences between Japanese Portuguese, yes. This is the sleep deprivation talking. I've taken my medication though. Did not forget that. Brazilian Portuguese and European Portuguese. They sound very different. I'm not sure about Spanish grammar, but there are probably some differences as well, but I don't think they are as significant as European Portuguese and Brazilian Portuguese. Though again, to a Portuguese speaker, understanding Brazilian Portuguese is a lot easier, and that's not because Brazilian speakers are like lesser or whatever rubbish, some holier than thou, or I'm better than you, this is my language, we took the language to you, blah blah blah, colonizer would say. It's because of the culture exchange. Like, Portuguese culture doesn't go to Brazil as much as Brazilian culture go to Portugal. For example, in soap operas and music and things like that. Even in the samba, during the carnival season, which happens in February normally, there are some places in Portugal where they have like those parades with people in funky clothes and stuff like that, which is insane considering that in Portugal in February, given that it's the northern hemisphere, it's cold, often raining, and so imagine people wearing those clothes in February when it's cold. It's just, well, it's again cultural exchange. That's the reason why Portuguese speakers have a lot more ease understanding Brazilian Portuguese. No, I mean, it's also because European Portuguese has more sounds. than Brazilian Portuguese. That's why I say that Brazilian Portuguese is a bit more musical, and yeah. It's just annoying when Portuguese and Spanish people pretend not to understand one another, which it's normally bullshit. Because if you really want, you can reach understanding. And if you start swearing, they go like, "Oh, you're insulting me. Now you understand." Yeah, it's that kind of thing. But it's like historical rivalry due to the fact that Portugal was once part of the Spanish crown. Like after the Roman colonizations, the Iberian Peninsula just became one thing. But the Lusitanian tribe, the Lusitanian tribe's blood never really died down. And yeah, when the Spanish crown awarded this county of the crown of the land to a count, his son did everything he could to make that county independent from the crown, because he hated he hated to have to respond to the crown. And yeah, that's how Portugal came to be. And then after that, there were a lot of wars and fights and stuff. And yeah, basically, Portugal exists today because of that. It's a history of violence, obviously, as it goes. Of taking territory at a time after this had already been colonized heavily and already been brutalized to such an extreme that people no longer spoke the original languages at all. They spoke creolized Latin, different variants, obviously, because there wasn't as much contact. That's how variants and languages and dialects come to be, because there's no contact, so languages developed independently. But yeah, Portuguese, Spanish, even Italian. Italian is just a direct evolution of Latin with some borrowings from the creolized languages, but Spanish, Portuguese, French are just creolized Latin. The Romanian is also a Romance language, but it's a different case. But it's a Romance language nonetheless. Which reminds me that a Romanian bloke that I met thought that I was also Romanian, which I am not. I've never even been close to Romania. But yeah, he thought. The Romanian person thought I was from Romania as well. Someone once thought I was Turkish. I'm not Turkish. I've never even been close to Turkey. But yeah, the guesses all stay in the same like geographical region, which is the Mediterranean. That's why I consider myself Mediterranean, since nobody ever guesses where I'm from, like, correctly on the first try. They just know that I'm not Anglo-Saxon, obviously, but they never guess that I'm where I'm from exactly. It's just weird, or exotic, or if they want to be mean, ugly. Because yeah, not Aryan, not Aryan. Uh, yeah, and it's funny that the celebrities that sometimes I'm compared to, for whatever reason, are all um, either of Mediterranean descent or of Middle Eastern descent. Which, yeah, makes sense since I have direct roots from both places. And it's not because of some test that I made. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I actually know my relatives. I just came out very pale. Because that was in the genetic code. Like, I'm kind of curious to know what exactly is going on and why I'm so strange and odd looking. Since, yeah, well, this is getting so long again. Why? Why? Yeah, because I feel like because I feel like I need the talking therapy. Yeah, I'm sorry. This is just one of those things. You watch it if you want it to, and you click out if you don't. Long vlogs, long rambly vlogs about nothing. I mean, this is what I set out to do. I never wanted to do anything else. So, like in these vlogs anyway, I mean, I can still do tutorials if I happen to design some crochet thing or whatever, or if I don't find a tutorial for something and feel like someone might want it. And the stories, I will still read that. I will do that. I swear I will. I swear I will. I was checking the time. The time is right there, but that's just a habit. And I might do that after I finish recording this, because I'm sleep deprived and feel like the voice will sound sleepy enough and will give the vibe to the story. The one that I wrote, not the folktale. Though I can also record that one and have both on the ready to just send to the drive and then edit on my phone, because I'm yet to find software that allows me to do that on the computer. Long vlogs. Yeah, I was just trying to remember what the hell I was talking about. Pardon. Um, yeah, more people should learn to sit with silence, actually. So I'm in a way I'm kind of glad that I don't really edit my videos, because I have these pauses where I'm just thinking. In Japanese, that's called ma, and it's a concept of just sitting with silence and being silent and listening to the silence and understanding that there's something in the silence. Silence isn't void. That's a thing that people fail to understand sometimes about poetry. The blank part of the page isn't empty, which is wild of me to say, but you have to read between the lines, you have to understand, and that's in that silence. The meaning is in the silence. Of course, in the metaphors and all of that, but yeah, the silence. The pauses are to be read, like the verses are short and you have to pause, and there are pauses. The pauses have to be read, otherwise you'll lose meaning when you're reading the poem. At least that's what I was taught. Maybe you think differently. I'm not your parent. You think whatever you want. But yeah, these are just vlogs, and I'm not here to like, I don't even know. There are some people who started out as vloggers who then spiraled, and I mean, when I see those cases and look at those people, I see that they have mental issues, like I do. But the difference is that usually they spiral because of like relationships and things that fail, like romantic relationships, which lead to crash out and a bunch of things. And that's the case for a lot of point and laugh people that I talked about in the channels. But since I'm not interested in that, at least for the foreseeable future, I'm not in any way, shape or form interested in that. These are just random nothingburger vlogs. The titles are not clickbait, and yeah, anyone who actually listens to me talk knows that. I'm just rambling about a bunch of things. Today it was languages and language learning, and me trying to peddle language learning as a hobby, because it's fun, it's cool, it's really fun. And I talked about history as well, and I talked about how religion played a significant role in the state of the world. This is not bashing religion, by the way. I'm not doing that. Please don't think I'm doing that. Not everyone is the same. Big eye roll. but I was reading a book yesterday, and it was one of those books that I really like reading. It was a history book, but it was one of those that presented the facts, but without the hedging, like just pulling no punches, basically. And this author was really going at the Catholic Church for using religion as a means to oppress people all around the world, especially Latin America and Africa. And other places as well, but especially those. Yeah. So it's really, I have mixed feelings because it's my religion. It's the religion I was brought up into. I didn't have a choice, but it was like hardwired into my brain, even though I wasn't exactly as forced into it as some people are. And I believe in the power of belief more than anything, so that means that I believe in all the things, because I believe in thought form. I believe that if enough people believe in something, that something will become true. Not necessarily a tangible truth, but a truth nonetheless. And that the quote that a lie told a million times or 1,000 times becomes a truth is misattributed, because it originally came from some Greek guy whose name I don't remember, and I don't want to look it up. I'm sorry. Just know that it's misattributed to the devil incarnate from the 20th century in Europe. Not the Italian one, not the Russian one, the other one. Not the Portuguese one either. Not the Spanish one either. None of those. It was the one. The one. The one. You know the one. I'm not going to say who it was. The one who would have sent me straight to a camp, because I don't look Aryan. Maybe the nose would have done something. I'm not sure. Probably not. Because there's a little... There isn't, though. It's so minimal that it's negligible. But almost black eyes, almost black hair, that's curly, bushy eyebrows. I mean, this is getting to 1 hour. I've peddled my my language learning as a hobby thing. I've talked about history. Let's just say that in Portugal, the defenestration of the Spanish rulers is celebrated every single year on the 1st of December. So yeah, the history is still alive and well. And this is gonna get 1 hour. I don't care. Fine. I peddled the language learning. It's fun. It is. I mean, you'll understand songs in a language that you don't know. You may be able to read books that aren't translated in a language that isn't your language, which is awesome, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, and I just keep firing from topic to topic, but still on the languages, Brazilian Portuguese and European Portuguese. Like, yeah, European Portuguese is a lot more has a lot more at the end of words, whereas in Brazilian Portuguese it's like it's a more of a hard s sound, like olhos. European Portuguese, eyes. Olhos. Brazilian Portuguese. So, yeah. I think I will, if you want to learn Portuguese or Spanish, I would definitely recommend learning the Latin American variants. And that's because I don't feel any attachment to these languages since they are creolized Latin. And yeah, I may be this color, but I was also forced to look in the mirror and see something different every single day since I can remember. Which, yeah, it's not to say that I've been discriminated against to the extent that actual people of color have, but it is to say that I may have a better understanding of what it's like to have to exist and have to think about your identity and your ethnicity and the way you look, not just because, yeah, of other identity questions, but because of, like, things I was born with, like, regardless of anything else, like any socialization, anything, like features and stuff. I think that's the reason. And when I was reading that book yesterday, I stopped when I realized that I get so incredibly angry and so incredibly frustrated and empathize so much with indigenous causes because of that. And I read something that stuck with me, which was that indigeneity is something that people grab for themselves in a context of oppression. That's a loose quote. It's not exactly how it was written, but that's what it meant. Like reclaiming the language and culture and history that was taken from you, and things that your identity, basically, those things that were stolen from you and you were forbidden from doing. And while I didn't have any direct contact with my indigenous ancestors. In a way, I have. And it's one of those things again, believe it or not, but I have. And it's a tough process to understand that your ancestors were indigenous peoples, and that the people nowadays fighting for their status as indigenous peoples and trying to preserve their culture and languages and traditions and history and beliefs were the survivors, I guess, the ones who managed to preserve some of it, maybe because the colonization happened later, so they could still grab some of the things, since there was still some contact with it, but it's still a reconstruction. Because yeah, the colonizations did irreparable damages to the world. And I saw another thing, which was one indigenous person asking, what would we be without the colonizations? How would our lives be? Because there are records of life being much better, people being a lot better mentally, physically, just overall. So this person who had no contact with that was asking, what would we be if we had not been uprooted and forbidden from our ancestry? I'm not even making sense. This is sleep deprivation talking. But yeah, that made me think. Because yeah, I feel that. And I feel like a lot of people are angry and I don't really know why. And I think it's because this way of life is not natural. And we're animals at the end of the day, as cliche as that phrase is. We're animals, like all the others. So, lights, computers, all of this stuff that we cannot live without is not natural. But there's nothing we can do about it now, is there? So it is what it is. That's not a good place to end this. So I'm going to peddle language learning again. I want to learn Ainu language. There are several books on the grammar and vocabulary. I want to learn the language. Because it's very interesting and the stories are very interesting. The Yukar, the epics, the stories, the Wepekere, the folk tales are also very interesting. And yeah, that's a good vibe, because they managed to preserve and reconstruct the culture, the language and the culture, and Yeah, now it's taught as a second language, but people speak it, which is good. So, yeah. And it's all thanks to especially Kaya no Shigeru, who was. He grew up speaking Ainu as his first language. Then he tried to distance himself from that culture because of the assimilation process, the forced assimilation process. But then he realized that no, that that was not right, and he spent the rest of his life just trying to preserve as much of the Ainu culture that he saw dying right in front of his eyes. Literally. Literally. He even got permission to film the last true Ainu funeral. People were looking at him weird because of that, but he did that the same way that Alan Lomax went around the Mississippi Delta recording people. It was in the same vein, only that Kayano Shigeru was actually from that culture and he just wanted to preserve that. He wanted the world to see it. He wanted there to be records, like visual images of the people as they were. And it's a very sad story, that one, because man, we're gonna get back to the bad vibes again. But he managed to preserve that, which was good. And when he quickly wrote down an epitaph for a lady he knew, a lady who helped them transcribe or like write down the stories, the folk tales. He wrote that in Ainu, and the older people who were there. The funeral service for that lady was not done in the traditional way. So, even though she was Ainu, but the family had already been assimilated, so it was not an Ainu funeral. But when he asked if he could read his epitaph, the family allowed it, and when he had to pause to gather myself. When he looked back and looked at the older people, when he finished reading his Ainu language epitaph, he saw that a lot of people were crying, and he understood then that language was very important. I feel very strongly about languages, especially the indigenous ones, the ones that have a long history, like the Ainu language. Yeah. And Native American languages as well. I feel very strongly about those as well. Because, yeah, that's the closest we'll ever hear to how people from times we can't even imagine sounded. And yeah, he saw in those people's reactions that language was very important and that he had to do everything he could to preserve the language. And so he became a teacher too. He became a teacher of Ainu language, and he put together a grammar and dictionaries and wrote books and wrote down the folk tales. He did everything, and he collected items. He relearned how to make rugs. He just went above and beyond for that. So yeah, definitely learn another language. I want to learn Ainu. No breathing exercise today, because this is already extremely long. Feature film long. And it was just one dumbass rambling to a camera. I feel like Carson Clay in a Carson Clay production, introducing Carson Clay in a Carson Clay film. This is a Mr. Bean reference from the Mr. Bean holiday film. That's a good note to end. Yeah, if you listened until now, thank you very much. That's all I can say. Thank you everyone who chose. Yeah, I may post another video today, which will be a strange video, a whack video if you will. But this has been the vlog. I will not be vlogging tomorrow, and I hope that tomorrow is good for you, and that the rest of today is also good for you. Whenever you're watching this, I hope that you're doing well. So yeah, that's been way more than enough. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thanks to the handful of people who tune in and interact with me. I appreciate that a lot. I really do. So thank you very much. Yeah, but I'll be back. And that's a threat. Bye bye.